applied to Marnie's throat. Immediately, Marnie is going to step back and raise the opposite hand. She's stepping back on her left leg and raising her right hand. This will allow her to rotate. If you notice, when she steps back, she's maintaining at least a shoulder distance spread between the legs. This allows her body to rotate and cross the plane of the attack. Also notice her arm. Her arm stays with the bicep close to the ear, so it'll cross the attacker's hands at the back of his wrist or hands. This is stage 1. Once she goes back into stage 1, stage 2 is then applied. You notice Marnie's hand is raised. That hand will drop to clear the attacker's hands. If possible, Marnie will use her other hand to trap the attacker's hands on her chest. This will, so to speak, make handcuffs, which will not allow the attacker to remove his hands from Marnie's area. If he pulls on the hands, it'll bring Marnie in, and Marnie will come into the attacker with many elbows, hammer fist strikes, and follow up with the last stage, grabbing the attacker and delivering sharp knees to the groin area. Stage 1, arm raise in the rotation. Stage 2, clear the hands and trap the hands. Stage 3, elbow strikes. Stage 4, hammer fist punches. The last stage, grab the attacker and deliver knee strikes. When it's free and it's safe, leave the scene.
In this next scene, we see the rotational defense against a choke applied in a different context. Chokes do not always occur while you're standing in your place. The choker can be pushing you backwards, and if this occurs, your weight will be back, our arms up from having fallen backwards, and in a position unable to make a plucking type of defense. Our choice is to make the rotational defense. The rotational defense will clear the hands from the throat without a plucking motion. The hands are then cleared, counterattacks can follow, and then once it's safe to do so, the defender can leave the scene.
In this next scenario, we're going to deal with a threat that basically is a choke from the rear in the place. In this particular defense, however, we are not doing an instinctive reaction like a plucking defense. The defender accomplishes the defense by making a quick rotation of the body, freeing the hands that are around his neck, and continuing with various attacks. The reason for this variation is that there may be a tactical reason why the defender wants to change his relationship in position to the attacker. And second of all, this type of turning or rotational defense does give the defender more power. The attack will be applied, and as usual, I will be applying the pressure to the front of Michael's throat. In this case, because the choke comes from the rear, my fingers will be applying pressure to the front of Michael's throat. In examining this exercise, you'll note that once the attack is made, Michael will be stepping forward, and as he steps forward, his hand comes up, staying close to his ear. Michael makes a quick rotation, clearing the hands, and attacking immediately with a hammer fist to the attacker. He comes back and counterattacks with an overhand right punch, and now is in a position to grab the attacker and offer various knee strikes and any further hand strikes as needed. As the choke is applied to Michael, his first reaction will be to raise his arm and step, Note how close his arm is to his face. As he turns, the attacker's hands will be moved from his throat and neck area. Michael then can follow up with an immediate hammer fist down on the attacker and an overhand right, changing his position slightly, his weight in the counterattacks. From this point, he can grab the attacker and deliver sharp knee strikes to vulnerable parts on the attacker's body.
Go! Ah!
Here, Rex, the attacker, applies the choke to Michael's throat. Michael is making the defense by stepping forward and raising his hand immediately, keeping the hand very close to his ear. As he rotates, he will cut across the hands of the attacker, freeing his throat, coming down with an immediate hammer fist to the face, head, or neck of the attacker, following with an overhand right as he steps in, following up with knee strikes as he's grabbing and pulling the attacker forward, and another overhand right. He can retreat from the scene at this point. In order to learn the exercise, Michael's going to break down the technique in its logical steps. First of all, we assume that the attack has been placed around Michael's throat. He's going to step forward to create some distance, rotating very harshly, keeping his hand very close to his head area. The inside of his bicep is almost pressed against his ear. This position will allow him to free the hands that are around his throat by crossing at the attacker's wrists or the back of the attacker's hands. Michael's already in a position with his raised hand to deliver a downward hammer fist blow, stepping and giving an overhand right punch, stepping in further to deliver a series of sharp knee blows to vulnerable targets on the attacker's body. If further counterattacks are needed, he's in a position to do so. And when it's necessary or when it's appropriate, Michael can retreat from the scene. Here we present a variation on the rotational defense for a choke that occurs from behind. Here the attacker is pushing the defender forward. The same defense is applied and the same counterattacks follow.
Ish! Ish! Ish!
In our system of self-defense, we want to be complete in that we want to be able to deal with threats from any possible angle. For instance, in choke, we have defenses that deal with the choke, whether the choke occurs from the rear, from in front, or from the side, or any angle in between. We also deal with situations where the attacker may be pulling the defender, where the attacker may be delivering the choke in the place, or the attacker may be driving through the defender with some type of push or shove. We also know from experience that chokes can occur on the ground. For instance, if someone is attacked while they're lying on a bed, they're in a prone position. And many standing fights end up on the ground. I'm going to attack Marnie and take her to the ground, and she's going to be making a defense against a choke that's delivered from a side position to her body. Here, Willie, as the attacker, has Marnie on her back and has his hands firmly around her throat. Marnie's first defensive position or movement will be to pluck with her outside hand against Willie's right hand, freeing that part of her throat. She will at the exact same time deliver a strike to the throat area, which is sensitive, causing Willie to back up. At that point, her inside leg in a folded position comes up and the knee is placed in the center of Willie's chest, pushing him back, which creates enough room for Marnie's outside leg to deliver counterattacks, kicks, pushing him away. Marnie can get up and apply further kicks and then leave the scene when it's safe. For learning purposes, we'll break down the exercise into its logical stages. The attack is made. Willie's weight is on the throat of the defender. The defender, Marnie, will simultaneously pluck with her outside hand, freeing part of the throat, and with her inside hand, deliver a strike to the throat of Willie just above the collarbone. This area is a sensitive area. There's almost like a hole there that receives the strike Marnie is giving. The natural reaction is for Willie to retreat. This calls for stage 2. In stage 2, the knee comes shooting up and creates a distance for Marnie, pushing Willie back and not allowing Willie to collapse on her. This pushing back immediately allows the leg to come up for stage 3, which is a solid kick to the face. As many times as is necessary, with the last kick, pushing him away, Marnie rises quickly and is able to kick further if necessary or retreat.
We are presenting now a new set of problems and solutions. It is the defenses against headlocks. The headlock can be either a choke or just a strong pressure to the neck. The first one that we will deal with is headlock from the side. The attacker is approaching you from behind or from the side. He is grabbing your neck area this way. Here, he can cause some kind of damage and pressure, especially if he's very strong, to your neck. He can also punch your face, and he can even take you to the ground. Here, maybe continue. When you are already in this type of hold, when the attacker already grabbed you, then what is left is, of course, to make the release effectively. As early as possible, strike with the open hand to its groin. With the other hand, simultaneously, you reach between your heads and grab a sensitive and vulnerable point. You then push this point diagonally upwards and then sharply down, placing the attacker in a vulnerable position. As needed, counterattack more with a punch. When the opponent is going down, strike him again. And then, as needed, counterattack again and remove yourself from the danger zone. As the attacker is grabbing, Marnie buries her face into the attacker's ribs. Thus, she is presenting a non-verbal target to the punch if he manages to deliver one. As the attacker is grabbing you and you're being sent down and forward, you must strike early to the groin. Because of his movement, his momentum, you may have to make a step forward. This is a